The next several sessions will act as a path to guide us on our CLM journey. One of the first steps in that journey is to be able to build product models. To help us dive deep into this topic, I would like to hand it over to Laura Beckwith, the Director of Product Management at Configit. Laura, the stage is yours.
Great. Thank you very much for the introduction, Tom. So yeah, my name is Laura Beckwith. I've been with Configit for, around 12, 13 years, something like that now. And I'm going to be showing you Ace today. Eventually we might see some slides. I'm not sure if I need to do something. Oh, yeah. Okay. So as you can see from the title here, the talk that I'm going to be giving and what I'm going to be talking about today is about creating interactive product models without programming skills. And I think that it really is the without programming skills that is going to be the focus of what I'm talking about today. So what this means is that all of the models that you build, it means in many ways. It's both the way that you write rules, so you don't have to use text rules. They're there. You don't have to use them. There are other types of table rules. I'll show you a little bit about that today. But it's also about all the other support that we put around. You don't have to hold all the information in your head. We guide you down some paths to be able to, when you're making changes, to be able to support that. And this is an area that is quite close to my heart. I really like that we target users who are strong problem solvers, but that don't consider themselves programmers, would never apply for a programming job by any means. So what I'm going to be showing you today, I'll introduce ACE at a high level. Then I'll kind of introduce you to what the product model that I'm going to show. So I'll give a kind of a build up to that before I actually go into ACE and make a change to that product model and show you some of this functionality that we have to support the modelers. And then finally, I'll show you a very specialized editor that is focused on how do you specialize a product for certain markets. I am going to be focused on ACE model. But you may be asking yourself, okay, I've heard a lot about ACE. What is ACE? Well, ACE is Configit's platform for supporting the configuration lifecycle management. And now if I just jump onto the next page, what you can see here is that it's made up of a modeling environment, a verify module. Both the modeling and the verify module, they have a set of APIs along with UI. And this is the place where most of the modelers are going to spend their time. And then we have this configure module that is all about having APIs to access these VT packages that you create once you've modeled your data. And then we have a design automation. So these are the overall, the various areas of ACE. Now today, when I'm talking, I'm really going to be focusing on these ACE model personas, the ACE personas for doing modeling. And we consider that there are kind of two different personas. Not all companies have two personas or two types of modelers, but we have seen this many times, that there's an engineering modeler. They're the person who are really concerned with how does the product actually fit together? What combinations from how can it be manufactured? What are allowed? They might be people who are also in doing the bill of material. They don't have to be. Sometimes there's a team that is really focused on doing modeling, and they work closely with the team that's working on bill of material. And then there's another set of modelers who are the marketing modelers. And I consider these to be the people who look out to the website saying, well, we don't want to expose all of this engineering data, and we know something more about how our customers actually want to order our product. And we think that we should kind of put our product out there a little bit like this. We should show, instead of showing all these technical details, we should kind of sum that up in this sort of package or something like that. So that is what these marketing modelers are. And ACE is really designed for both types of these modelers. So the first thing I'm going to do when I jump into this demo is just show you what ACE looks like, and at a super high level, and a few of the enterprise-like functionalities that we have. So this is ACE. At the top, you can see that there are work items and then there are recent packages. Work items are something that the modelers would use on a regular basis. It's a sort of a sandbox. So you make your changes to your product model as part of a work item. You can test them, and once you are done, you promote them. The packages area is a place where once I've released data, these are data that is now available to downstream systems, and all the APIs are there to access that compiled data. If I jump into a work item, then what I can see here is that a work item can have multiple users. And one of the key things that differentiates us, I think, in many ways, is that we have a complete history of every change that has been made, so that I can go back and track what changes was made in this work item. Once this work item has been promoted, what has been changed over time. So we have kind of a master history. What are all the changes? And we have this information available to you in various areas of the product so that you can know, well, who changed? Why is this rule like this? Like, who last changed it? We're able to surface that information so that as a modeler, you know, oh, that was my colleague who made that change. I didn't expect to see that. Let me just go talk to them. Let me understand the context of why that change was made. Yeah. So now to dive a little bit into what I'm going to be really focusing on today, what several of us will be talking about, is a hearing aid model. So we need a sample model to be able to talk about stuff, and we're going to use the hearing aid. And this you can find on the Configit website. It is a configurator for a hearing aid, and I'm going to show you the data that's an ACE model that backs up this configurator. And if you were to click into one of these iHear Child or Invisible, then what you would open is the actual configurator for that particular version of the product model. So of course, there's a lot of data behind this, and I'm going to show you what some of that data is, and I'm going to show you from the perspective of being an engineering modeler and a marketing modeler. And I make this very black and white distinction, but of course, it's never black and white, and we'll get into that a little bit too. So the engineering modeler cares about things like what size of battery is it that this hearing aid has? Is the battery drawer, is it tamper resistant, or is it easy to open it? Hey, if you can play software with your hearing, or if you can play music with your hearing aids, then you need to have some software that supports that. And there's also something about the power level. The marketing modeler has some other families, which also probably are really the engineering modeler also cares about, and they might also add some other families based on what the market is needing. So here we have families like color. It comes in various colors. There's a child and an adult version. It's in the ear or behind the ear. There are various styles. And then they have something called the battery. How long is the battery life for this? And here, this is something maybe that the marketing team has said, you know what? We keep having people ask us about how long the battery is going to last. Could we give that information to the user? And then they would work with the engineering team to define that. And then, of course, there's something like music. Now, just like I referenced, of course, sometimes we need to map between marketing and engineering. So in other words, this battery, in order to get how an estimate or a good sense of how long a battery is going to last, I need to make a relationship between that battery lifetime and the battery size and the power level. So those might be that's the engineering team has let me know that, you can approximately expect this much battery life when you have these various combinations. And then this would be a rule that I would put into the product. And likewise, in order to have music, I might have music, and then that would be driven by would have a relationship with the style. Is it in the ear, behind the ear, and then what version of the software? Maybe the in the ear software is different from the behind the ear software. So the version of the software could also then be part of the product model. And that way also, you would get to a place that when the user made the choices on the website, it would drive all of the engineering intent so that there would be nothing left to do. That is sort of the ideal picture for several of the types of companies that we work with, to get to a place where when the user makes their selections, there's no there's no engineer to order left. It's just pure configure to order. We're ready to go with the manufacturing. Now, one of the things that we have a lot of different ways of handling it. I think it comes back to what Henrik said and maybe what Tom asked, which was, where's a good place to get started? So let me show you one of the ways that you can get started. One of the ways is that you have maybe these engineers who are already sitting in an existing system, whether that be a PLM system or someplace else, where they're authoring this intent. And the problem is not that the engineering intent, that's always been there. The problem is really on the marketing intent. No problem. Import those rules, get them into Ace. The reason it's nice to get them into Ace is because now you have one place where all the rules are. You have this single source where the rules, this is the set of rules. And now when the marketing come in and add their flavor of limiting or adding, like driving some of the engineering intent by adding some new functionality, the existing engineering rules will always be there. Another way to do it, of course, is to just author both of them in Ace. And we have a lot of customers who are doing this, and we have a lot of various types of support to support this type of this environment. And today, what we're going to show you is more on the second, where everything's been modeled in Ace, and we haven't imported anything. So before I get into this demo, I wanted to let you know that the demo is really going to be about the marketing team has found out that pink is not selling. They offer the hearing aids in pink, and turns out they only get a couple orders with that a year, and it's simply too expensive to keep it. And therefore, they want to try a light gold color instead. They've done some marketing tests, and they've got the sense that that would be more valuable to the market. And so they need to replace the pink, phase of the pink out of the product offering, and instead offer the light gold. So that's going to be the task. Of course, what I need to start with is to show you this is Ace. Now I'm in a product model, so I need to show you what this product model looks like. I have 6 markets. It says I have 28 rules. So this is kind of an overview of what makes up this product model. I can dive into what are called the features and families. That's things like this age group, all of those details I showed you, marketing or engineering. It comes in a child and an adult version. And I'll now show you that all the various colors that it comes in, beige and brown, and there's the pink down there. And again, these kind of are focused on the marketing intent, but when I search on music, I can both see that there is enable music streaming and there's the software. So all of this is just in one model. And now I'm going to go into the task, which is to phase out this pink color. And you might be noticing that I keep talking about phasing something out. And that over on the right there, we have something called effectivity. We have so pink right now goes between product introduction and then this default end date. These are what we call events or effectivity, and everything in Ace is governed by effectivity. And what I want to do when I phase this out, I want to say, well, at the custom hearing aid event, which was actually in the past, back in 2019, but when I phase this out, I am saying that pink should no longer be available. It was available, and if I need to go back to an earlier version, I still have this data there. Now I want to add the light gold. I am adding it from a global library. This global library can be shared between all product models. I am adding it with effectivity. It's going to be available from the custom hearing aid onward. You couldn't get it before this date. And now it will be in this overall list. And now one of the things that we need to be able to do is we need to understand, well, was pink used in any rules? Because if it was, I also need to then go update those rules to reflect the fact that pink is no longer available, but this light gold should be there instead. And so I have this relationship screen, which shows me that pink is used here in this example in one rule. And this rule, when I clicked on it, it's a table rule. I can see that because it's red. Here are all the other things. So it seems like this table's rules is referencing the color, all the colors in the family, and in the color family, and then also the product line. The same way, you can also get to this information. Actually, if I just jump back to the family, you can get back to this in usages. So every family has its usages. So there are multiple ways of getting to the same information. Now, this is a table rule. In here, a check means I would like this version, this combination to be available. And the lack of a check means that combination is invalid. This is a marketing rule. It also has effectivity. And so you can kind of hover on it to see a little bit more. So if in case you don't know the codes, then you can also see a bit more detail. And this information is telling me there is something with the effectivity of this feature and given the effectivity of the rule. And now I am going to do something a little bit special, which is that I would like to take this rule and I would like to split it. This rule was valid, pink was valid until that custom introduction of the custom hearing aid. And for that reason, I would like to keep this rule around. And so we have the ability to split the rule, meaning there was the old rule. It is valid until the custom hearing aid event. And now I'm going to create a new rule, exactly the same copy, except now I would like to change it. So when I do this, now I'm in the copy of the rule. So the old rule is still there, has exactly the same intent. And now I have the light gold showing up in my table. It's because I'm in edit mode. And I can start to remove the pink and I can add the gold in the same places where the pink was. And of course, I can always check the validity of my rules. It will give you feedback regarding the things that could make the rule invalid. And it will prevent you from saving in certain circumstances. So the next thing I want to show you is a way that you can specialize your product intent to different markets. So one of the stories I really like is that there was there in the automotive industry, okay, as Henrik said, we refer to this a lot, but I like this example. It's very, you can really grab it. Apparently in Australia, they expect to get cars with leather seats. And when they sell 12, it's not that you can't have fabric seats in Australia, but there's simply an expectation that the car comes with leather seats. That's sort of what they want the default to be. And so the way that the editor I'm about to show you handles this is it allows you to set up a different, specialize your product differently, offer it in different forms for different markets. So for Australia, even though fabric's available, you could set the default, what happens when you first come into the configurator to have leather seats by default. What I'm going to show you today is something with the iHear child. I'm going to show you how it's been specialized for the UK market. So in this demo, I'm in something called feature applicability. You can see there's a market UK, it's a little hard, and then I'm on the child model. And then down here, I have the families that I would like to control with, so I don't control all families with feature applicability, just those I might want to expose out in my web configurator. So here, the autophone, what this is saying is the autophone, the yes autophone, like being able to have an autophone, that is not available, but it's no autophone is the default. With music, it's saying, so this yellow box with the check mark is saying that no music comes by default, but you can upgrade to having music on the iHear child. It might cost you something, but that is the idea. So there is sort of a tie to what is the base price of my product and can I upgrade and get something else. Now, sometimes with this feature applicability, when I describe it, I call it wishes, because of course, underneath all of this are all of the rules. If there's another rule that says that enable music streaming is not compatible with the child version for whatever reason, then this O, the fact that I've put a check mark with an optional in there, it's going to say, well, that might be your wish, but you can't get that. And in just a few minutes, Jesper will show you about what kind of checking we can do to help people like these modelers see whether or not their model is correct. Now, of course, I didn't have so much time, so I have not been able to dive into all of these screens. So I have a few screenshots that you haven't seen of stuff, but I wanted to just kind of end by saying that we have really tried to keep the focus on modelers who have strong problem-solving skills, but don't have a super technical background. So we have rules that look like Excel. That's the one there on the left. We have the table rule that I showed you. We have ways of finding where is stuff referenced. We have this, what we call the feature applicability, which is a very specialized screen that is super easy. We have some customers, by the way, who have external, like people sitting in different markets, come in and just edit that data as a way of specializing the marketing intent for what their market needs. And then, of course, we do have text rules. I had to include it. And we have ways of making those super easy to, in case you're really scared about typing in the syntax, it can help you with the syntax, as I guess we all expect these days. Yeah, so that is my presentation. I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you, Laura. So one of the things that I always fear, being a former engineer, is having or inviting marketing in to help edit rules with me. I'm sure everyone on the call is wondering the same thing. Can you control what content can be edited by the marketing team?
Yeah, so so we have actually several answers to that, unsurprisingly. There are two ways to do it. So one of the ways would be to use, I think Henrik mentioned this submodeling. So you could imagine that you have a model with your engineering intent, and then the marketing can actually inherit that model, so to speak, and set their own model over it. And then you can say, well, you're not allowed to come and edit all of this engineering intent, but you can use it. You can decide how you want the views to look, or how you want to offer in various markets, what you want to offer in various markets, etc. So that would be one way of doing it. And of course, it's an enterprise environment. There is a lot of flexibility in you can kind of control who can read what. So what screens can you go to? I think that this customer that I'm talking about, who has people come into the feature applicability screen, they have made sure that the only screen they can edit, and get to really is that screen. They can only make changes on that screen because they don't want them coming in and changing other data. So it really depends on the need and how you want to structure your data.
Perfect. We have a question from the chat, Laura. It says, is the effective date a static component or information, or can it be customer/context dependent?
Okay, so I'll customers. So the date, static information. So there is a screen. If I understand the question correctly, there's a screen where for every product model you can define, I have a date. Maybe you even think in the way of dates. My understanding is a lot of PLM systems think more in the way of dates than they do in what we call events. So an event, you create an event, you give it a date. The reason that we decided to do this was the same reason that why in programming you name something a variable rather than having constants all over, because you might need to change that date. And now if it's just the date running around every place, you have to change it a lot of places. So instead, now if you have one place where you say this event has this date, now I just need to go change the date of the event. And then the program takes care of it for you. If you change the date, it will also make sure that things are still valid. It does all sorts of checks in case a date has to be changed. So I think that's answering the question. I'm not sure I fully understood it, but
yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. And I do know inside of Configit Ace, you can set up rules so that there are different features available based on, maybe certain markets, or based on, if there's other rules that trigger that. So it is very flexible. There's a lot of options there to really make that take play. All right, let me check real quick, see if we have any other questions. We do. Perfect. All right, this question is it possible to create multiple sellable products from one technical product platform?
Yes. So I guess so I understand this. Maybe I can take this iHear example. So there's two different ways to think about it. One could be the iHear. The iHear, in many ways, when you go onto that screen, you can see that it comes in different versions. And some companies would say, well, these are different versions. They have different SKUs. They're different in our SAP system. They each have their unique identifier, and that would be fine. Like, you have a way of actually generating for those things what we call sellable units. So that's one way of thinking about it. The other question might be, hey, now, and this is another way to interpret it, which is I have a chassis of a car. I actually use that chassis in 4 different products. And you can also do that in ACE. You can do that through these submodels again, where you're isolating this is this part of this product, and I can consume it in different ways on different products depending on how I bring it in to those kind of consuming products. So those are a couple different ways of doing that as well. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much again, Laura, for your time.